Hi, and welcome to the Writing Center presentation of Plagiarism and Misuse of Sources. My name is Kristen Ruggles, and I am the coordinator of the CASA Writing Center. Today we will learn about what plagiarism is and why we should care what it is, understand what it means to misuse a source, and we're going to look at a couple of different documentation styles and other resources to help you avoid any accidental or intentional plagiarism in the future. So first things first, what is plagiarism and how do you define it? Plagiarism is basically the practice of using somebody else's work or ideas without giving that person their due credit. This could be in the shape of using somebody else's idea that you got from a conversation, or taking big pieces of somebody else's writing and using it as your own. So the actual definition of plagiarism is using someone else's language, ideas, or other original, not common knowledge material without acknowledging its source. This is going to apply to text, images, published in print or online, manuscripts, and the work of other student writers. Let's look at that term, not common knowledge, though. Common knowledge is going to be a bit of a gray area, because what's common knowledge in my field, as I am a writer, is not common knowledge in your field. So, this is where you'll have to take a moment and analyze your audience. Who are you writing to, and what can they be expected to know going into reading your paper? A good rule of thumb is if you can find the information on the internet in 1 or 2 clicks, it might be common knowledge. However, when in doubt, cite. So, what is some information that does not need to be cited? Again, common knowledge. If it can be easily found in a number of general resources, or if it is something that is easily found in a number of documents in your field. Again, for example, if I were reading an engineering document, there are a lot of terms and a lot of information that I would not necessarily consider common knowledge, but that the engineering community would. So think about your audience, consider who you're talking to, and again, when in doubt, just cite. Information that must be cited, anything that is not widely known. Conclusions made by other people, whether it be in writing or in person. Any explanations or summaries of a study, any photographs, even pictures you yourself took, there's a way to cite them. Statistics, absolutely, that is never common knowledge. You always need to bring your resources to your argument. Any document you create is going to be considered an argument. It's a piece of writing that is expressing your view on a particular topic. If I were to just say to you, 75% of women like to wear their hair up. Well, your first response to me is going to be, says who? This is why you need to cite your sources. And then of course, any direct quotations, meaning you have lifted words directly from the text, must be cited, otherwise it's plagiarism. And then again, paraphrased material, because these are somebody else's ideas that you are changing around to fit your own writing style. So there are different types of plagiarism. We talked a lot about cheating, which is the borrowing, purchasing, or otherwise obtaining work composed by someone else and submitting it under your own name. There is also non-attribution. Non-attribution is copying word for word without crediting the author or using quotation marks. So if I said, I do not like green eggs and ham, I do not like them, Sam, I am, but did not tell you where that came from, then I would be doing a non-attribution style plagiarizing. So be sure to let people know where you're getting your direct quotations from. For those of you who don't know, that was Green Eggs and Ham by Dr. Seuss. Also, we have patch writing. Patch writing is taking the original source and just changing a couple of words here and there to keep the same idea, but to try to avoid plagiarism by changing 2 or 3 words. Now, this is something that happens regularly. I have been a professor, I have been in the classroom myself. I even thought just changing 2 or 3 words, that changes it around. That's a paraphrase, right? No, it's not. So, when you need to paraphrase something, here's a tactic you can take. Look at the passage that you're going to be paraphrasing. Read it and then put it away. When I mean put it away, I don't mean just kind of push the book off to the side. Cover the page with another sheet of paper, turn the book over, turn off your screen, and then give it 10 or 15 seconds before you start trying to write. I know a lot of you might be thinking, but I'll forget what I read. That's kind of the point. What we want you to do is give yourself some time away from the words that the author have used, then move to a different medium of writing. So if you're writing on the computer and you're reading on the computer, take an actual pen and paper and write out your paraphrase. So what will happen then is that your brain will start to put together what you have read, but it won't be able to rely on the actual words that the author has used. So this will help you keep from plagiarizing. After you've written out your paraphrasing, go back, compare the two. If you find that they are still too close, set some more time aside, move on. Take your paraphrasing, give it 30 seconds from the source material. Do that until you have found that you have paraphrased the source without plagiarizing the source. And then don't forget to cite it. So here is an example, a physical example of non-attribution that you can look at. So on the left-hand side of the page, we have the source material. While websites like MySpace and YouTube are changing the way artists and record labels reach out to fans, the next online revolution in the music industry is already underway. Okay, there's our great first sentence. So here is the non-attributed plagiarized passage. MySpace and YouTube are changing the way artists and record labels reach out to fans, and Second Life is the next revolution in the music industry. Fantastic sentence. However, as you can see, they have used the same examples. They've used phrases like changing the way artists and record labels reach out, and the phrase, the next online revolution in the music industry. Everything that has been underlined and bolded is plagiarized directly from this passage. Once again, you may think, but they changed things around. They are still lifting direct passages from the source material without attributing the information to Anderson or by using quotation marks. So let's look at an example of patch writing. Once again, our original text is the same. Websites like MySpace and YouTube are changing the way artists and record labels reach out to fans. The next online revolution in the music industry is already well underway. Again, beautiful, well-written beginning sentence. The patch-written portion. Social networking sites such as Facebook and Twitter are altering the way the music industry connects with fans. Second Life is another form of social networking, revolutionizing the music industry. So, different first sentence. They've changed words around, however, the sentence structure is still the same. Websites like MySpace and YouTube has been changed out for social networking sites such as Facebook and Twitter are changing the way artists are altering the way artists. You can see where I'm going with this. Just by changing around one or two words, you have not paraphrased the material. You have just taken it from somebody else's work. Now, they do cite Anderson in this particular bit of text. However, it is not a paraphrase, so it is still considered patch-written plagiarism. So how can we avoid plagiarizing? Well, let's just give credit where credit is due. Parenthetical and in-text citations is one way to help avoid plagiarizing. Whatever documentation style that you are going to use, whether it be APA, MLA, Chicago, JEB, CSE, IEEE, there is a way to avoid plagiarizing. The method of documenting or providing credit to the original source of quoted, paraphrased, or summarized material within the body of your paper is an in-text citation. You can either set it off at the end of the information within parentheses, or you can do what's called a narrative citation, in which you introduce the author. So let's look back at our previous example. Patch written text, again, it's wrong. But what is correct is that they have a parenthetical, a citation in parentheses at the end of the sentence within the period because it is part of the sentence. So this is how you can help avoid plagiarizing. So what exactly is the difference between a direct quote and a paraphrased quote? Because there's going to be a difference in the way that you cite them. Usually with a direct quote, you'll have to include the page number, whereas with paraphrased material, it's just going to be the author and possibly the date if you're using APA or whatever citation style you're using, however they decree it. So a direct quotation is word for word reprinting of another person's words. A quote is indicated by using quotation marks. That's a direct quotation. I'm using the exact words on the screen. Paraphrased material is, again, taking the essence of what is being said, taking someone else's ideas, and then putting them together in your own words and presenting it as part of the evidence of your argument. The sentence structure and phrasing need to be different from the original source material. Typically, you will cite a paraphrased passage. Once again, check with whatever citation style you're using just to ensure that you are paraphrasing and quoting correctly. So when are you going to use a direct quote? Typically in academic writing, we don't want to hear what other authors have written on your subject. We want to hear what you, the author, will write about your subject. So, when will you use somebody else's words? Well, you're going to use it when the language is expressive or vivid, when exact wording is needed for accuracy. You'll find this a lot in the STEM field. You'll find this a lot in nursing. When you need direct accuracy in a concept or a theory, then a direct quote will work. Or when it is important to let the debaters of an issue or previous authors actually explain their own positions. This is something that you'll get a feel for as you start writing more academic papers. You'll kind of feel when you need an author to explain for himself or herself why they feel the way they feel about the topic you're researching. Or when the language is the actual source of the topic of discussion. So that is going to focus a little bit more on things like literature. So you'll want to include a direct passage from a short story if you're analyzing literature. So when are you going to use paraphrasing? You're going to use it quite a bit. You will paraphrase to convey somebody else's ideas into your own words, to illustrate your point to the audience. So if you're going to be pulling material from another source, but it's not expressive and vivid language, or it doesn't matter what the author specifically said about his or her own argument, paraphrase it, including details of a source without using the exact structure, of course, and then to show your audience you understand what the source is saying. A lot of the times your professors are going to want you to paraphrase this stuff also. When it comes to direct quotation or paraphrasing, your citation style is going to influence it. If you choose MLA style, these are usually used in English classes for literature courses specifically, you will be doing a lot of direct quotation because, again, you're pulling from source material. You're pulling from literature, and the exact wording is needed for the analysis of the document. However, if you are using APA, which is usually used in the soft sciences, then you are going to be relying more heavily on paraphrased material because, once again, we want to hear what you have to say about the topic, not so much what the other authors are saying about it. We just want them to back up your opinions. How can you avoid plagiarizing when you're summarizing or paraphrasing? Read the passage, put it away for a minute, turn off your computer, cover the document, turn the document over, however you have to do it. Talk to yourself a little bit. What is the author saying here? What does this mean? What did I just read? Sometimes I will just talk it out to myself and then I'll write it down. After I've written it down, I'll compare it to the original. If it's too close, I'll do the process again. If it's not too close, if I've covered it, if I've gotten the essence of the material correct, I move on. You'll start to really get a feel for paraphrasing and summarizing the more you practice it. Writing is just like any other skill. Paraphrasing, summarizing, look at your mistakes and try again. So what does it mean to misuse a source? The misuse of a source is the incorrect documentation or quotation of source material. This means if you are trying to cite a source, but you do it incorrectly, that's a misuse of a source. Or if you have incorrectly quoted the source, it is a misrepresentation of the document, of the original document that you're reading from. Another way to misuse a source is to actually misrepresent the source. So this is why it's important to paraphrase. You see, you can cherry pick the information you find in the original source material, paraphrase it creatively, and pass it off in an entirely different manner, which shows that you don't fully understand the source, A, or B, you have maliciously misused the source. So make sure that you are also, on top of citing your material correctly, that you are representing it correctly as well. How else can you check if you've used your source correctly? Well, go to your manuals. APA is in its 7th edition. MLA just released its 9th edition. Turabian is in its 9th edition. Chicago is in its 17th. Just check with the sources. Most of the websites for these citation styles are actually pretty easy to navigate. So why does plagiarism matter? Why does it matter whether or not you plagiarize something? Well, because the big one is that it violates the Student Code of Conduct, which, as a student at TAMU-CC, you have agreed to. Article 3 shows that misrepresentation, fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, cheating, complicity with cheating are against the Student Code of Conduct and subject to disciplinary sanction outlined in Article 7. So it matters because the school cares, and as a member of this school, you need to care. A final note on avoiding plagiarism. If you're unsure something needs to be cited, just cite it anyway. Worst thing that'll happen is you've oversighted in your paper. Keep a working bibliography of your sources. This means creating full citations on a separate document as you are reading, researching, and writing your paper. This way, you know where everything is. Plus, if you accidentally lose a source, you can find it quickly without having to research it all over again. When conducting research, take notes that include the bibliographic information with full citations. It's going to seem time-consuming on the front end, but I promise you, it is a lot faster on the back end because you already have all of that stuff together. Use your research matrix. Write down your quotations and your page number and your bibliographic information. When you get to the point of writing, it's literally just going to be copy, paste when you're entering in your quotations. Cite as you write. If you've paraphrased something, actually write out the citation and then ask questions. Your instructors, they're going to be the ones grading it. So of course they're going to have the final say in what looks like plagiarism and what doesn't. Your peers can help you because they'll be able to recognize. The Writing Center is here for you. We can look at all of your writing and make sure that you have covered your bases. And your librarians. Now, if you ask your librarians for citation examples, they're going to send you back to the Writing Center. But if you're unsure of whether something has been paraphrased correctly, or if you need help finding something, finding a bibliographic reference or a bibliographic entry for something, the librarians are amazing. Some more plagiarism resources for you. The TAMU-CC Code of Conduct can be found at judicialaffairs.tamucc.edu. CASA Writing Center, that's us, can be found at casa.tamucc.edu. If you're using APA, you can go to apastyle.apa.org, and they have a lot of their citation information on the actual website for easy usage. Or, same with MLA, you can find the bibliographic information on the web page. Once again, this has been a presentation on plagiarism and the misuse of sources. Thank you for letting me speak with you today. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to the Writing Center, to your professors, or to the librarians. We're all here to help. Good luck in your writing endeavors, good luck with the coming semester, and as always, go Islanders!